Am I teaching too slow? Am I teaching too fast? What should my students learn?
There isn't a guidebook, a playbook saying this is how you teach this dance. There isn't.
Please don't think that going to São Paulo or going to Rio and learning the entire structure for 3 to 6 months and then going back to whatever community you come from and applying that is going to work, because it's not going to work.
You perhaps only gonna know if the thing that you were doing was too fast or too slow 1 year later, 6 months later. It's really hard at times to know as it's happening what's going on.
I'm sorry, I'm going to give you a little bit of tough love here, but that problem starts with you, the person in charge, because everything came top down. I think that a lot of the problems in communities come from the community leaders, not from the community members.
If there is anything in you that wants to create a new culture for that scene, focus on bringing new people, really, that you can go from scratch.
How slow is too slow, or how fast is too fast when teaching and learning dance? We're talking about the core anxiety for every community leader, teacher, and student. Should you focus on moves first or soft skills? We'll share our perspective on why there's no formula, only the right decision for your community and personal dance. But what is that? Well, let's find out. Hello everyone, and welcome back to ZoukNerds. In this episode, I'm joined by Gui Prada to tackle a highly requested topic: the pacing of learning and teaching in dance. We'll discuss the balance between fast-moving patterns and slow-developing soft skills, like torsion and connection, and argue that every community must prioritize based on its own needs and values. It's about being intentional with your time, progression, and content. So, let's go! Hello everyone, my name is Alisson Sanji, and let's welcome back our beautiful co-host, Gui Prada. Hello, Gui!
Hello, Alisson. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to ZoukNerds.
In this episode, we're going to be talking about how slow is too slow, or how fast is too fast, and compared to what, compared to who, when it comes to learning or teaching Brazilian Zouk. This is a topic that everyone wants to talk to us about when they get some time to talk to us in person or book a coaching call with us. And currently, we're actually talking to a few communities together and separately about this very topic. People who are starting their community or taking the next step into the community, let's say upgrading, or the next chapter of a community. And they have this fear and anxiety of, am I teaching too slow? Am I teaching too fast? What should my students learn? Should they learn just the moves and worry about the soft skills later? Or should I start with the soft skills and the connection and the touch and then worry about the moves later? Or should we combine and make a hybrid of it? What to do? Give us the formula. Well, sorry, not sorry. There is no actual formula, but with our experience, hopefully we'll share something that can match your necessity, because that's the key at the end of the day. Every community is different, and every community needs something different. So Gui, what comes to your mind as we start talking about this?
So many things, Jesus. I think this episode is going to resonate a lot with the local teachers, the local organizers who are in the daily efforts of growing their community and in the effort of developing their syllabus, their curriculum, and deciding what to teach in what order, who comes first, who comes second. Here in Washington, D.C., we have this ongoing, never-ending, wandering discussion. Are we going too slow? Are we going too fast? I think we need to teach more of this, teach more of that. And it's so funny because when we have these meetings at times, and this might happen with you that is listening, that is also in this stage, we need to teach this and this and this and this and this and this. And when we make the list and we say, guys, we need 35 years to, to put everything that we just mentioned, Then we need to improve the weight transfer. We need to improve the torsion. We need to improve the footwork. We need to blah, 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 blah. And like Alison said, Alison, do we do the movements first, the patterns first, or the soft skills first? One thing that I realized is a pattern, a student can come in on a Tuesday night without knowing the pattern and leave the class knowing the pattern. The soft skill, they will need months and months of that Tuesday night to start acquiring the soft skill. So stuff that takes longer, for example, the matter of torsion, that is a very important topic here for us when it comes to testing Brazilian Zouk. We have to do more torsion. We have to put more torsion in class. I would categorize torsion as a soft skill because for you to be able to modulate how much torsion your body does or how much torsion your body needs to do for a particular movement requires more awareness of the movement of your body and all these things. So we can do a whole class of torsion. It doesn't mean that the next week the student has already acquired the whole knowledge of torsion. You know, these are things that need to be repeated.
Often students will go and ask, like, how much torsion do I need to do here? And I'm like, well, for this movement, for what we're doing today, for this amount of traveling and for this speed of music, about this much. But you see how many variables there are? That's why even though torsion is like a mechanical skill, it's actually within a soft skill too.
Exactly. So you have to make this decision of thinking about what you are doing and what you are teaching as a system that progresses over time and be really intentional about working the soft skills over time, introduce them there, and be patient to let them develop. I think at times we dance teachers are very impatient with the process, especially when it comes to the soft skills. But because they take more time, if we put more time with the soft skill and not so much the movement, give the sensation we're moving too slow. We're not doing anything. They're not learning anything new because they come in and go and they come in and go, Tuesday in, Tuesday out, and they still can't do it, you know? And I was talking to Brenda recently and her efforts in Bali, where they are making an effort to bring more cohesion to teaching Brazilian Zouk over there and making these experiments of how much of the movements we're going to teach, how much of the classic patterns of Brazilian Zouk we're going to teach, and how much of the connection aspects we're going to teach, the soft skills we're going to teach, knowing that they take more time. So it's making this decision. We are, quote unquote, moving slower in what comes to teaching the patterns because we are making a decision to teach the soft skills as well. So that person, in comparison to another scene, another place, might be indeed slower. A person another scene in another place in a space of 4 months might be able to do more movements than this person who is learning more intentionally the two things. While the person in the same 4 months might be able to do like maybe less things, but doing these last things really, really well. And the thing is, when this person travels to the other place, they might feel uncomfortable because, oh my God, these people know so much. I don't know that much. How am I going to fit in here? While the person from their other place that dances with this person from this place, wow, you dance so well. It feels so nice dancing with you. Where did you learn? Where did you come from? So there will be this interesting, this is my prediction, and this is what I think can happen. This will be this interesting encounter of different methodologies. In the end of the day, is making a choice, and that's what we say to the people who come to us. What is better? We don't know. There isn't a guidebook, a playbook saying, this is how you teach this dance. There isn't. There is a classic way to do that. And Alison and I, we know that we broke away from the classic way of teaching the dance, a little bit, a lot sometimes. We still have students and people learn from us that after some time learning this way, you still see, oh man, there's a timing issue going on still. There is still weight transfer is not very clear. Oh, the torsion, we need more torsion and more musicality, you know? And last thing I want to share too is we often focus on the things that our students don't have, like what is lacking in them. And I invite people to see what they have. What did they develop over these years? Because when you bring back the memory of how that person was when they came in and how they are right now, 6 months, a year later, think of what they have. Think of what they achieved. Especially certain cases where we had people repeating the basics courses more than once and seeing how much they have conquered and how much they have acquired in awareness of their body is a really beautiful process too. You know, that's it for now.
And please, 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 for everybody who's listening who is not a teacher, just take all of this that we're saying and apply to your dancing as a student as well. How slow is too slow? How fast is too fast? What are you prioritizing when you're learning? Because as a student and as a teacher, we have this thing about comparison, right? The grass is always greener on the other side. So, oh, well, my students can do this and this and this and this, and they're known for that, and that's a good thing. But they don't do this and this and this, which is something that other communities do. I like to say that I don't make decisions. There is an overlord over me that I look up to and I respect. And that overlord is called community. What do I mean by that? Everything that the community wants, or that we as a community want for the community, is what we're looking up to and making the decisions based on. For example, of Bali. Let's imagine that the Bali students in the Bali community, they prioritize the human connection first, the touch, the inclusivity, and all of those things over the fancy, crazy technical movements or nerdy patterns and entries and exits. That's cool. So then the community tells you exactly how you should structure your classes, your socials, how many socials, what kind of music to play in the socials and in the classes, and how many classes should you have per week. All of those things. For example, another community that is more based and focused on structure and understanding what comes after what and why does this work this way or that way, that community values and searches a little bit more for the brain and the nerdy side. And we have to then make sure that we are putting enough of the soft skills. So I think that every community has kind of a natural tendency to go towards. Some have a tendency to be more technical. Some have a tendency to be more focused on structures and the details on the technique. And other communities, they tend to go more towards the soft skills, the things that are not so obvious in terms of patterns, but they're very obvious in terms of how the quality of the dance feels. Once again, I can compare the communities that I know. Like, for example, Gui, you talked about Bali, and I can talk about Taipei here, where I am teaching now. The students here, they're really, really focused on understanding the structure, practicing the structure, and we have to constantly then introduce to them the soft skills and the reason why these soft skills and these other details that are not so obvious, they are not so structured, can influence and can improve their understanding of the structure and the quality of movement. It's a whole thing that can seem a little confusing, but looking at my own dancing, it really helps me to understand. I am somebody that structure, rules, and guidelines kind of like help me with my life. Because my brain is so crazy that if I don't have structures and rules, I kind of get lost and I just keep stepping and walking, but I'm not going anywhere. I kind of get stuck. where I am. So the structure really helps me to understand, okay, I do this, and from here I go to there, from here I go to there, from here I go to there. So that to me is very natural. Now, I need help. I really need help from teachers and from people who understand this better on how to see the soft skills in the structure, on how to study and apply the soft skills in the structure to improve my structure. While other dancers and other people, they're more naturally leaning towards those soft skills and touch and human connection. So for them, it's something that like, yes, I feel it. This is kind of like natural to me. But then when it comes to structure, they need a little bit more help because they just feel, they just do. So then when you ask them, okay, can you do A and then B and then C? And they're like, no, can you show me? I don't know how to get there. But they do. They actually do know how to get there. They do it all the time. They just don't see things in that way. But maybe if I describe that differently, okay, do a traveling movement here and do a circular movement there, they might actually do the movements that I just asked them to do. But they see things or they categorize things differently. So I think these are the two kind of like extremes that we see in most communities. And the goal that we always have and that Brenda is now trying to do in Bali, and some people that we're talking in Japan as well, they're trying to do that, and multiple communities that we've helped, is to try to merge them in a way that fits their community. And that's really what we're talking about here. Please don't think that going to Sao Paulo or going to Rio and learning the entire structure for 3 to 6 months, and then going back to whatever city you come from, country, community you come from, and applying that is going to work. Because in my strong, deep belief in my core, it's not going to work because everything is different. You can take that as an inspiration, but let's just put Sao Paulo versus Bali. I don't think that the students who are thinking that things are too slow or too fast in Bali will go to Sao Paulo and think the same way. For example, in Bali, they might think that the speed is just right, the content is just right. But then if they try to apply that in Sao Paulo, people are going to think, oh my God, like we haven't learned anything. Or if they try to take the structure from Sao Paulo and take to Bali, people in Bali are going to go like, oh, wait. I don't understand how this works because it's just one thing after the other, but we're not processing, we're not integrating it. Does that make sense? I think this comparison kind of makes a little bit more clear for people.
Yeah, because I think like when we think this slow or fast is for who? Like the question you ask when we start the episodes, slow for who, fast for who? Because many times it's too slow or too fast for the teacher. The person who is teaching is by themselves anxious because they think it's slow or fast without input from the students necessarily. You can see when there is frustration, when the students are flustered for any reason, but you're not certain until you ask or you hear directly from them, because sometimes it's perfect speed. There was an occasion here in DC at District Zouk that I try to rotate with the students. At a certain point, we put ourselves in the rotation and we go around with everybody. And some classes have 20, 22 people. So we need to rotate to 10, 11 people. And that takes time. And at a certain point, we were, the class is moving too slow. The class is not progressing because of this. And we asked a simple question, guys, is it okay? And everybody was really assertive in their affirmation that it's completely fine. This is actually their favorite part of class. Dancing and receiving the feedback straight directly from the teacher. So the story we created that is slow, but the moment that we asked, no, it's not slow. It's actually perfect, on point, And the experiences, I think, that are being tried is, what if we do things differently? What if we do things that might indeed cause the person to take longer to learn the movements of the dance? They will eventually do. It's just going to take longer. can we live with that? I think it's more the teachers holding their own anxiety that things are moving slow in their own heads, in their own understanding. And like we were saying, if we take somebody from that scene and put in another scene, they might be overwhelmed or like, oh my God, I don't know how to do these things. But I think it's a valid experiment to make, teaching these two elements with the same amount of time. It's almost like learning two languages at the same time. You might take a little longer to speak the languages, but when you do speak the languages, you speak both really well. So it's going to a mindset of slow progression and really enjoying the process, not focusing so much on the outcome of it. How fast can I learn this thing? Instead of that being what is new today? What is the topic today? And being the present, enjoying each topic one at a time and finding joy from it. And there's one more thing that I wanted to mention that you mentioned, Addison, about the community and understanding your community. I think there is a possible double-edged sword on that point, because I have also seen organizers, community leaders justifying the way they do things because of the community. Because people here are like this, because people here are ta. At the same time that you have in mind your audience, which I think is super important. For example, Tuesday night, second time slot here at District Zouk. It starts at 8:50 p.m. and it goes until 10:15 p.m. So late, people are tired. Right now in the winter, it gets dark at 4. So people are going to be tired after work. Are not people who are mad dedicated to learn the dance. They're taking privates and training like crazy. Not at all. It's a lot of people that most of the time, the most that they dance is in class. So you align expectations in that way. The thing though is that you are still wanting to bring your thing. So my most strong invitation is to not use sentences like, the people here are like this, and that justify why you don't do the thing that you'd like to do. Not even perhaps giving a try without giving a full try. How would be this full try? Didn't work this way? Let's try another way. Didn't work this way? Let's see if I can get another way, Because I'm a firm believer, like Addison said, in their guts, in their core, that the student shows excitement to what you show excitement, which is something that Jaime told us so many times. But go, Addison, you got excited about it.
I want to reinforce on top of what you just said before I go to my next point. A lot of the times when people say my community or my students don't want this or they don't do this, don't appreciate this. I'm sorry, I'm going to give you a little bit of tough love here, but take it with a lot of love. That problem starts with you, because every community that I've been to that uses that as an excuse, the issue was the leader of the community, the person in charge, because everything came top down. That person was the person already in the socials, not prioritizing the connection, not prioritizing the basic movements. I would see them dancing with beginners and trying head movements and counterbalances. And then coming to me after the social and going like, oh, my students don't want to learn basics. I'm like, well, do you? Do you want to learn basics? Do you like to do basics? Do you enjoy the basics? Because like Guy said, from the moment that you do and you show to your students how yummy the basics are and how yummy a dance can be, even before you get to the head movements and all of those things, your students will get inspired by it. And I've had, on the opposite side, gone to communities that they were really, really gentle on their learning and very slow and very progressive. And the students were like the happiest. And the teachers were actually struggling to move them on, because they were like, oh, I want to teach them a little bit more of this, a little bit more of that. But then the students were like, no, we're happy here. We're happy here. And that's the thing. I think that a lot of the problems in communities come from the community leaders, not from the community members. because I think it's very natural for people to be attracted by something that they can relate to. So if your community is all the people who don't want to do basics and they just want to do the crazy stuff they see on Instagram, that's probably because you do that. So then you attract people like that. People come to District Zouk. They come to Taipei. They come to Melbourne. They come to Munich, Boston, the communities that I personally helped a lot in the last few years. And they say, wow, the students here, they really love their basics. And I said, well, I think that's just because the community leaders in those places love the basics. So they brought me because I love the basics. So then the natural thing just happened. It wasn't because we forced them. It was just because there was a natural attraction and retention there. And the other thing that I wanted to get into is the fact that sometimes within the same community, there are different groups and speeds, let's say. So then there's a comparison that is not to another city, to another country, but it's within the same one. So let's say we're in this city, and in this city, I want to teach more like chill, more take my time, a good mix of soft skills and technical structures. But then there's another teacher who just teaches fast movements, sugar high, lots of caffeine, just bang, 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 bang. Again, there's two different sides in the same community. What is right? What is wrong? I don't know. I ask the overlord, what do I value in the community? I value people who can dance with anybody. I value people who can feel good when they're dancing by themselves and when they're dancing with others. I value the quality of touch, the quality of movements over the number of movements. So when I think about all of those things and the people around me, if they all value the same thing, which, like I said, by natural attraction, probably the people who come to my classes, they also value that, I stay confident with what I'm doing. I don't feel the pressure to do just because the other one does, right? And there is value in both, to be honest. I think that there is value in teaching faster to certain people, to certain levels. Sometimes we go to workshops and we're like, hey guys, today we're going to do a challenge. Just last weekend, Christina was here, my dance partner in Taiwan, and the whole weekend there was challenge. I told them, I said, guys, you come to my classes all the time. I know what you know. I know what you don't know. But for this weekend, I want you to think about above that. I want every class to be a challenge. Some of them, they are more like structural challenges. Other are physical challenges. The other one are more soft skill challenges. But we prepared a different class on each kind of side of the dance for them to experience. And there's a point for that. But then another weekender will go and do and just say, hey guys, this time we're going to take 5 steps back and take everything apart and look at every little thing. So I'm not saying teaching fast is wrong, but I'm saying that you need to understand what the community needs or wants. And if you are valuing that in a way that inspires other people, sometimes I will value the fast and say, look, for this works. This is the right thing. But then other times I'll go like, no, guys, we need to slow down because this requires more attention and more time. Yes, I can hear you guys saying or asking the question of, how do I know what's fast, what's slow? With a lot of experience, we've kind of got to a point where we can have an idea just by talking to people. But try not to do this alone. Make sure that you have information and data, because a lot of the times the teachers are struggling and they're like literally stressing out, not sleeping and crying because they don't know what's right for the community or what to do for the community. So my suggestion is to ask. Have anonymous survey or ask people in the community. Here and in every community that we've been to, we always do this kind of surveys. Sometimes in their class chat, we just ask them. Or other times we ask at the social or after class. And We usually have some students who are like in between. A lot of the times they're trainees. They are kind of a student, but also kind of working with us. So they are in this beautiful place where they get information from both sides. They get a lot of intel. So then we ask that student, say, hey, what have you been listening from the students when they're talking to you? Are they happy? Are they not happy? Do they want more of this or more of that? So then you can also get some intel from these undercover people in the community. So yeah, a lot of information out there for you to collect and to use. But in the end, the overlord is what always guides me on how fast or how slow. And deep inside, I think. Deep inside, what I think that community feels like. Community just feels like everybody belongs. That's kind of like the major goal for me.
Yeah, we were having this discussion. Actually, we had a teacher training recently, and this question came up: how do you know we are going too fast? How do we know we're going too slow? And the answer from the teacher who was facilitating the class was actually three. And one of the answers was what I experienced. Yeah? So one of them is working your power of observation, basically working your observation, basically being invested in the class, basically just looking at the group or looking at the couple by couple, person by person, and just seeing how they are retaining the content in that particular class or over the classes. And that helps if you have someone with you too. So like having an additional pair of eyeballs helping you also see what's going on. That's the second one, right? Like developing your own sensitivity to notice these things. And that comes over time. That comes with experience. It's a muscle that you develop. The second one is having someone close to you to help with that. And then like Alison was saying, sometimes the spy students, and there's a spy student over there that you talk to, and that person is that additional body that is giving information. And the third is the one that I use the most, which is being in rotation. Being in rotation with the students, actually dancing with the students, is perhaps for me the most clear way that I have to know if we're moving too fast or too slow. Sometimes in one rotation, I rotated everybody. Everybody's doing really well. We're like, okay, let's go. Let's move on. So we are probably moving slow. So if I did one rotation, everybody's doing well. Do I need to do a second one? Or can I move on to the next topic, for example? But did the first rotation, struggle. Okay, we stop here. Let's take our time. So you pace like that, And the other thing I wanted to mention, which perhaps is the most difficult one, is you only gonna know over time. And that's the tricky part. You perhaps only gonna know if the thing that you were doing was too fast or too slow 1 year later, 6 months later. It's really hard at times to know as it's happening what's going on. We have had here experiments in which someone or another teacher wanted to teach things faster, wanted to teach other topics. And it was really exciting in the beginning. And then started doing the beginning. It had people in class. And then slowly started this thing. People stopped going. It was hard to keep the class engaged. And all these problems started to come, but that took time. It was not at first. So at first, it could realize that some people would be struggling doing the thing, but it was not enough to, make a judgment call right away. We're perhaps doing too fast, Same thing if you are going slow. You may be able to notice that people are getting, in their faces, they're not coming to class very much. Retention is a little complicated. You have these signs, but you don't know for sure unless, like Alison said, you ask, you do a survey, and then you learn more about these things, So the challenge here, guys, is realizing that it takes time for you to know if it's working. And then once that time has passed and you realize, no, it's not working very well, it's okay to change. It's okay to pivot. How many times we change our curriculum here? How many times? We have like a sheet on Google Drive that it has the tags for each modification to the curriculum. And sometimes there was a year that had the April version, the September version, the November version. The same year, the curriculum would have these little tweaks because we were being able to make quick adjustments because it was not just one person observing, it was a whole group, a whole team observing. And then you have more people, more input, you have the surveys and have everything informing you. In the end of the day, coming back to how we started these episodes, what you teach, what you prioritize, soft skills, the patterns, the classic patterns. Do we teach the tools more first? Do we teach about the connection, the touch, and the weight transfer first? How much time do we spend on each thing? Man, I would say try it all. Be patient. Know that it's going to take some time for you to notice the results of that. But I am very curious. I am very open to all the ideas. I would love, my dream actually was to be able to go to a place that has no scene at all and start really, really from scratch with this idea of Brazilian Zouk. This place is going to start right here. And what kind of tone we want to set? How can we develop a scene from scratch that follows the values that I think are important for a healthy community? And I do think it's really important for a healthy community, especially in the sense of how good the social dancing experience can be. It is with this development of both the technical aspects of the tools with the soft skills, with the same amount of time given to each one of them. And you being fine with the idea that the students will leave the class not being able to do what you just spent an hour teaching them. And perhaps leave the next class is still not be able to do the thing that you spent an additional hour teaching them. And 2 months later, they're still not able to do the thing that you've been spending so much time. But it's like I was saying to our instructors here, there is a magical and silent process of growth happening on the back that the body is learning something. We just can't see it right away the same way we can see a bonus. We can't see that the person is getting slowly better at shifting weight more consciously. And when we do realize it, we and the person is going to be when it's way better. I am trying to develop the ability right now. This is something that I'm developing to be able to perceive this slow progression more often. Because it's almost like, when I was in Brazil, living in Brazil, I saw my mom grow old. But because I was there in the house with her, I couldn't notice the process of aging. So I left Brazil and I stayed 2 years away. When the pandemic hit, I stayed 2 years away from home. When I came back, I was like, Mom, you grow old. I didn't realize the passing of time. But when we are there, we don't necessarily realize the passing of time. And I think it's the same thing as a local teacher. You are there teaching and you've seen this person going from level 1 to level 2 to level 3. They are progressing, but you don't necessarily, you know what I mean, Alison? You don't necessarily, it's just happening. And I think the person also don't necessarily perceive how much awareness they have acquired. They perceive that now they can do a tilted turn that they couldn't do before. But they might not perceive that their posture is better, that their balance is better, their weight transfer is very controlled, that they don't fall that easily. If they trip into something, they can pick themselves back up. So they develop all these things that they are not fully aware. We are not fully conscious of that, And that for me is the most magical thing. So my work right now, my people, is to be able to try and perceive this slow progression and to say to the person, wow, your posture is better. Wow, your weight transfer feels nicer, and let them know about this progress over time.
I think that's very, very important for students as well. For those of you who are listening and you're not a teacher, ask your teacher, ask your friends, about anything. Ask them. Maybe the friends are going to be in the same boat and they're going to go like, oh, I don't know. I see you all the time, so I'm not sure. But maybe they're going to give you some points and they'll go like, oh, like I noticed that you're really listening to the music a lot more recently. And then suddenly you go like, oh, really? I didn't notice that in myself. Or if you don't have somebody like that, maybe ask your teacher. Your teacher will for sure be able to tell you. And if you want even more in-depth, maybe book a private lesson with that teacher and go like, hey, I want to do what I call for my students a health checkup. I tell everybody, do a health checkup at least once a month or once every 2 months and go to your teacher and say, hey, I'm here just to do a health checkup. How am I doing? What am I better than last time? And what should I be focusing on next? Just so you're not lost either, because I think that's very important. The biggest problem with the arts and dance community is that we don't have necessarily clear guidelines of like, when I do this, I achieve that. When I do this, I achieve that. Because it's very different for every community. An intermediate in DC or in Taipei or in São Paulo are completely different dancers. That's why I do not like personally, and I'm sorry if that upsets anybody, but I don't like when people say, oh, I'm an intermediate dancer. Oh yeah, in my community, I'm an advanced dancer. And I'm like, that says nothing to me. An advanced dancer in a community that has been existing and doing weekly classes for 6 months is not an advanced dancer in a community like DC that has had Brazilian Zouk for 11 years. So really focused on what you know and the things that you're learning and the things that you want to do next instead of the label. That's why for our schools and everywhere that we help, we try to tell them, avoid using beginner, intermediate, advanced labels. Like at District Zouk, we created this system that is basics, fundamentals, and then the specific courses. So that helps them to understand, oh, these are all my basics. Okay, I need to master them. Oh, these are my fundamentals, instead of like beginner, intermediate, advanced, right? Mm-hmm. The more structure that you can put into your dance as a student, or that you can put to your community as a teacher or leader, the better it's going to help them to recognize and to evolve. And you'll also be able to better pinpoint the things that are missing. You as a student or as a teacher, you can reach out to somebody and go like, well, my students are struggling with this. And then we can go like, oh, okay, so do they have this issue here or there? That usually happens because of this. Maybe this is too nerdy or too methodical for anybody out there. But for me, this is the clear way to do things. It's kind of trial, error, and collect the data, and then make the data make sense as it comes together and see the patterns, see the things that continues to happen, and then create systems and ways to remedy that. For example, for communities who are starting or upgrading, people ask us, oh, but there's the people who've been dancing for longer and they want more. But at the moment, I can only teach beginner classes. Cool. Maybe do a study group of 3 or 4 couples, maybe on a Sunday when, people are available, and do that for them as a separate thing from your normal classes. You don't have to create an advanced level just because of those people. Just do a little separate special group. Or maybe, all of my students are asking to learn tutu turns, but they're not ready yet. Okay, maybe do a one-time boot camp on a Saturday or on a Thursday night and go like, hey guys, I know a lot of you have been asking and we're still not quite ready to go there, but I'm going to do a boot camp for you guys of 2 hours just to teach you what you need to work on to achieve this. So you don't have to change your curriculum. You don't have to speed things up and make everybody jump what comes before. But you can give them Or you can give yourself, as a student, a way to at least get to know how to get there and what to do to get there. Often, students come to us and say, hey, Alison, I want to learn spins. I know I've only been dancing for 6 months, but I also know that spins takes a long time to get. So I want to start working on something. And I'm like, great, beautiful attitude. I'm not going to say, no, I'm not going to teach you because you're not there yet. But I'm going to teach you with that in mind and say, hey, these are the techniques that you need to work on. Your connection, your posture, your centering, your grounding. And then I'm going to give you all of that, which hopefully is also going to help with the rest of the dance. Instead of just teaching them spin. Because then they're not really learning much more than just the spin. So I try to package in a way that, yes, it's a little too early, but the way I'm going to teach you is going to help you with your current dance and with your future dance. So trying to think about this in a different way can also help and take away the stress and anxiety of like, I'm not doing enough as a student or I'm not teaching enough as a teacher.
Yeah. I think to build on that, the last thing I wanted to share in this case is that you have already a community going where you're starting something new. And then Alison said this idea of a study group with 3-4 couples. And oh my God, I agree so much with this. I agree so much with you, Alison, because many times it's very easy for us to focus on who is already dancing, focus on who is already in the scene, and sometimes trying to bring the people who are not coming to class back to class, try to accommodate to those who already dance. And I started thinking that perhaps, especially for those who are beginning to teach, are upgrading the scene, if there is anything in you that wants to create a new culture for that scene, that wants to create a new environment, bring a new batch, is to focus on bringing new people, really, that you can go from scratch. In this sense, in this idea, those who already dance might come or not, and they might be hard, but staying good with it if they don't come. Stay fine with the idea that the people who already in the scene might not come, and that's okay, because that's not the goal. The goal is to bring new people in and start a new way of seeing things, start a new culture, you know? And I have seen so many times people getting really wrapped up in what to do to bring the people who are not dancing anymore back and putting so much effort in it, while we can also put perhaps more effort in bringing people who don't dance yet and start from scratch with them, you know? And in my vision, in my utopia, this new culture that is developed ends up attracting those who are not dancing anymore, because perhaps the reason they left is they lost motivation or they don't think they have anything more to learn. But with the new batch of people, with the new culture establishing, that might spark again their desire to dance and meet these new folks and see how the socials are going now and see what's being taught in classes now. That can be a motivating factor for those who are not dancing anymore. And I don't know if that's true, because I don't think that was tried yet in this way, you know? So I'm really excited for this to happen somewhere for those who are starting or upgrading a scene that you don't have, that you still don't have a structured classes, but you do have that group of initial enthusiasts that started Brazilian Zouk in that place, but are not as active anymore.
I think we did kind of that a little bit in DC. I know I definitely did that in Melbourne. You know, for me, at the end of the day, it's very much like I will focus on people who want to be here.
Yes,
oh, but the students, blah and blah and blah, they want this, they want this, they want this. I'm like, do they want to be here? Or do they want to be here conditionally? Those people are going to take 10 times more energy just to keep them happy. No, I'm sorry, no thanks, bye. I'm going to focus on the people who are excited to be here, to learn, to come every week, instead of trying to convince those people to return. And that is how we focus on building a big community and shifting the culture if we need to shift the culture. Sometimes we don't need to shift, right? So my focus, and I think the focus of most communities that are growing sustainably, is focusing on the people that want to be there. Whether it's advanced, intermediate, beginner, teachers, professionals, it doesn't matter. But focus on the people who want to be there, and always give a lot of attention for bringing new people in, because without new people coming in all the time, the community just fades away and disappears.
Or stays very small for a long time.
Yeah. With that, I think that's a good end to our episode once again here, talking about our experiences and hopefully sharing something that helps you in whatever part of your journey. So thank you for being here with us. And thank you, Gui, for sharing all of his wisdom.
Thank you, Alison. It's always a joy to talk about these topics.
And we'll see you on the next episode, everybody. So thank you. Beijos, beijos, abraços, and ciao.
Bye, everyone.